O.P.P. Detachment Board meeting to order. It's Wednesday, July 23rd. Everyone welcome. We are live streaming our first meeting. Maybe we'll just do a quick roundtable around to do introductions today. I'm Councillor Richardson, the chair.
Good afternoon, everyone. Rob Flindle, I'm the detachment commander at the City of Kawartha Lakes Detachment.
Hi, everybody. I'm Ron Taylor. I'm the Chief Administrative Officer here at the City of Kawartha Lakes. Nice to meet you.
Good afternoon. I'm Superintendent Jody Kays from Central Region. Just to give you a little background, so my area of responsibility, I have 7 detachments, so I'm here to support the command staff and to learn a little bit more about the area so I can help to support your community. So thank you for having me.
Andrew Vale, I'm the provincial representative for this board. I'm the general manager for Lindsay Buick GMC, Lindsay Carstar, Halliburton Carstar, Lindsay Uniglass, Halliburton Uniglass, and Lindsay Dodge.
Pat Warren, Councillor Ward 2 and Vice Chair of this committee.
Hi everybody, Mike Perry, Councillor for Ward 3. I just want to open to by thanking our law enforcement here today for all the attention and everything they're doing to help us, especially in Ward 3. So thank you for that. It's very well recognized and appreciated.
Hi, I'm Kim Johnston. I'm the municipal appointee on this committee. Nice to meet you.
Good afternoon, Mark Ravel, Operations Manager, City of Kawartha Lakes Detachment.
Thank you very much, and I think I'll thank you on behalf of all the City of Kawartha Lakes for everything you do for us in all our wards. Anyways, we will call the meeting to order. Can I have an adoption of the agenda, please? Member Vale, Councillor Warren, all in favor? Perfect, thank you. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest at this time? I do not see any. 2.3 is the adoption of the minutes from the previous meeting, which would be on March 25th, 2025. Can I have a first and a second? Member Johnson, Councillor Perry, no discussion at this time. Perfect. We will move right into number 3, which is the oath and affirmation of office for the members of the City of Kawartha Lakes O.P.P. Detachment Board. I believe we have a little bit of housekeeping. We need to have Member Vale be sworn in.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, we have an administrative item to take care of for Member Vale. Member Vale, if you could please swear or affirm the following clause, be greatly appreciated. Do you solemnly swear that you will uphold the Constitution of Canada, which recognizes and affirms Aboriginal and treaty rights of Indigenous peoples, and that you will, to the best of your ability, discharge your duties as a member of the City of Kawartha Lakes O.P.P. Detachment Board, faithfully, impartially, and according to the Community Safety and Policing Act of 2019, any other act, and any regulation, rule, or bylaw? Do you so swear or affirm?
I do.
Thank you. Madam Chair.
Thank you. We'll move on to number 4. It's deputations. We don't have any on today's agenda. Right into new business, and the first being 5.1, the Detachment Commander Report. So over to you.
Yes, good afternoon, everyone. I think this is my second opportunity to sit before the detachment board, so I'm pleased to attend along with my operations manager and obviously Superintendent Jody Kays as well, to provide me much needed moral support today. I wanted to give a little brief overview, and I know Councillor, through the chair, Councillor Warren, you had some questions in regards to the report. As we transition into the new CSPA and the development of the detachment boards, the OPP has developed a consistent detachment commander's report that we provide generally 2 weeks prior to every detachment board meeting. This is an automated report that's been created by the organization, so I have no control over the contents, and I know you were making some questions, why so much cannabis, etc. So we do have some input on the content of the report. It's like everything else with the CSPA and the learning curves. We can report back on whether or not there's some requests coming from the municipalities and what we would like to see go into the report, and then that goes into the team that develops this through our command. and we could see the potential of having this evolve over time. So this is something that is automatically generated by the detachment commander. I can't control the content. I don't have an answer as to why the cannabis portion of it is so large versus, you know, your fentanyl or other opioids as well. But it is a legitimate question on why there's so much cannabis in reporting in the drug section versus other types of drugs. I'm very open when I give the detachment. I provide the report 2 weeks in advance. What I ask is for the detachment board to have the opportunity to review it, provide me any questions in advance of the meeting. I'd like to provide as fulsome a response as humanly possible, and that gives me the opportunity to do any sort of research that you may have into the question that you have. I'd like to we are transitioning into the summer period. So this is the second quarter, and with the chair, the reasons for the explanations for the timing of our detachment boards meetings this year was in alignment with the development of our action plan. I'll give you an update on business 4.3 shortly on where that currently sits, but the detachment board meetings were aligned with some of the timelines and the expectations for completion for myself through the detachment board, through obviously my command staff up to our commissioner's command team for approval as well. So that's why the timing of the board meetings have been set. So I'll provide a copy of the detachment commander report 2 weeks prior to the meetings. Any questions, by all means, I'm very happy to receive any emails from yourselves if you'd like clarification, and that gives me some time to research. So we are transitioning to our summer period, which is great. The weather has been absolutely fantastic. We are seeing in the second quarter, we are seeing positive trend lines in those various areas. We are seeing a reduction in violent crime, property crime, etc. Overall in 2025, this quarter, we've seen an almost 20% decrease in violent crime in our area, which is fantastic. Property crime, feel free to stop me at any point in time if you. Violent crime for 2025 for this quarter is 19.2%, almost 20% decrease. And then year to date, we've seen a 13% reduction in violent crime year to date. So that's January until June 30th. And so the content, I'll break these reports down into the quarters or the timelines and in between meetings. Sorry.
Do you have any idea why it's trending down so much? Is it, coming out of COVID and things are getting back to normal, or do you have any reasons why that would be so low? It's great, don't get me wrong, I just wondering from your perspective.
It's a complex answer, complex question, complex answer. There could be a whole host of factors. I think coming out of COVID is one of the responses as we transition back to some normalcy as well. Certainly our proactive staffing in our communities being visible also has a positive effect. Some of our media strategies through the chair on whether it's traffic related issues, in this case violent crime, working with our community partners. We also work very closely with victim services and supporting our victims of crime. One of the things, and I can touch base here shortly, is we are holding our offenders to a higher account through our new O.P.P.Detachment program, or offender management program within the detachments. And we are seeing a reduction in that recidivism of, breach of probations, breach of recognizance, etc. When we hold those individuals, our habitual individuals that are committing our crimes to account, and whether we hold them accountable, hold them for bail, it also has a positive impact on our violent crime rates as well. It's a very complex topic, but yeah, that's a little snippet. And by all means, feel free to jump in any time. I'm happy to answer any of the questions. We've seen a reduction, almost 22% in the sexual assaults and violent crimes, which is fantastic. So we're trending positively there.
Forgive me for.
Yeah.
Since you said questions there, is that number of charges or convictions?
These are occurrence numbers. The number of occurrences reported to us.
Reported occurrences, thank you.
Reported to current to us. Our detachment commander report does not include conviction rates. That's something that falls under the Crown attorneys through the MAG. That's their responsibility, and that's another entire discussion unto itself for the conviction rates. Property crime, we have seen a slight uptick on property crime from previous years. In this quarter, we've seen 22 break-in enters. I did a quick look. There's no trends in relation to that. We're seeing break-in enters to businesses, cottage properties, homes, et cetera. So there's no real trend that we can identify in that regards. But overall, our property crime this quarter is down almost 26%, and year to date, we're down almost 20% in property-related crimes, which is fantastic. Break-in enters, we do currently, part of the challenge when you see our reports, a lot of our investigations are open and active. So you are going to see some changes and fluctuations in our reports and clearance rates, et cetera. Part of that is just the nature of the business. Some calls for service that are reported in the first quarter may take until the fourth quarter to be resolved, and convictions, et cetera. So the data does fluctuate slightly over the time period, so that can account for some of those changes in the reporting stats you'll see from quarter to quarter to quarter. Drug crime is down as well, 27% this quarter, with a reduction of about 17% year to date, which is fantastic. And again, our other incurrences, that's kind of our catch-all. Other federal statutes, provincial offenses, driving offenses, we're seeing a reduction this quarter of almost 40% in those occurrences as well, which is fantastic. Two of the things that I want to touch base on this quarter, some of the highlights for our detachment and certainly for our community is, number one, obviously most of you are aware of the robbery that happened in Little Britain. So some fantastic investigative excellence on the part of our frontline uniform members, our emergency response team who attended quite quickly, as well as our crime unit. It's quite the collaborative effort. I was on ground that day as well. I attended the scene as the proverbial dust settled, but fantastic response, not only by our detachment members, but by the community members at large. 100%, right? So, you know, that's that. I'll get the quote wrong by Robert Peel, but the police are the community and the community are the police, and it was a collective effort. It really, truly was a phenomenal effort by the community at large and our detachment as well. That resulted in the arrest of 4 young offenders. I can't speak to the investigation because it is ongoing. Those charges have been laid and is currently being actively investigated by our service and other services as well. Some interest there as well. Another great thing I would like to bring to your attention as well is one of our officers, Constable Julie Kalka, had a calls for service in Fenland Falls, right time, right place. Responded to an individual, vital signs absent, and she attended the scene. A member of the public was conducting CPR on the individual. She took over CPR, was actually able to revive the individual, which was fantastic prior to ambulance arrival. And she actively monitored the condition of the male until ambulance arrived, and that individual ultimately is still alive today because of the actions of that member. You have tabs on board, right? We do. That's correct. So internally within our organization, when there's phenomenal work being done by our members, we put in we call it a COM7. It's awards and recognition. So we're recognizing that member. We've submitted that fairly recently, so that goes up to the command team, and we're hopefully going to see both for her and for the member of the public a life-saving award in the future. So really good work being done. We're well underway on our Marine program as well this summer. We have received a commitment from our regional traffic unit, our SAVE team. They have been in our area on a number of occasions. They're reporting the stats to us. So not only will we see detachment members out on our area lakes and waterways, but we're also receiving support from our regional SAVE team members. And that SAVE team, they're involved in ATVs, snowmobiles, the Marine program throughout the year. So you'll see them in our area waterways as well. A couple things that I'll highlight as well if I can flip to it. There was a question about intimate partner violence. Wanted to know it's not captured within the detachment commander reports. Right now, I spoke, so in our office, I believe I mentioned it at the last meeting, but for those that are new, we have a new detachment abuse issues investigator. Every detachment across the province have these new positions. Their sole role in the detachment, they have received expertise training in intimate partner violence investigations. There are resident subject matter experts in the office, and they will actually review every single occurrence that comes into our detachment. They will confirm that, you know, a calls for service doesn't have a lens of an intimate partner violence, but there are subject matter experts that will review our intimate partner of violence and provide some investigative excellence to our frontline members. That's something that new, I think, within the last year that we've introduced. Those are in addition to our complement at the detachment. We've maintained the status quo from last year. We're sitting at, I can flip here quickly. Oh, nope, sorry, it's in my report. So last year, at this quarter, April to June, 131 intimate partner violence investigations, and this year we're sitting at 127. The numbers are essentially the same. And year to date, 2024, by June 30th, we had 284 in 2024, and this year we're at 285. So those numbers are fairly consistent year to year.
Can you use your microphone, please?
Not intimate partner violence, but just sexual violence is down. So is that all wrapped up into the same data?
Potentially, yes. They are wrapped up. They are correlated. Absolutely. I don't have the data in front of me to pull that apart right now. I can certainly provide that at a future date to see if there's anything correlated in that. But generally speaking, quite often our intimate partner violence does have that sexual component as well, which is captured under that. So we see that reduction as well. Just want to make sure I've... One of the components of the report is the public complaints section. This quarter, we've had 2 reported to us. One has been screened out, one was withdrawn by the complainant in regards to officer conduct. I'll bring this up. So we now, the O.P.P. within Central Region, we all wear now body-worn cameras. If you see our officers out and about on their patrols, you see the camera in front of them. It'll be flashing green or red, depending on whether it's recording or not. So all of our officers are carrying body-worn cameras. Additionally to that, all of our cruisers are outfitted with the in-car cameras as well. So I think that's going to be fantastic for evidentiary purposes during our investigations for both provincial investigations and criminal investigations, but it's also going to have an positive impact on our interactions with the public, both from our officers and how our officers interact with the public, but also conversely how the public interact with our office as well. You put a video camera in front of somebody, sometimes behavior changes for the positive. So we're seeing that borne out now across the province as well. Victim services. So in our detachment, we have victim services embedded in our detachment. They do a phenomenal job, and we have a phenomenal relationship with them as well. And we have a very high referral rate from our occurrences. IPV leads the referral rate in our detachment. And that, you'll see that section in here, victim services, and that's why victim services provide support to us as well as Kawartha Lakes Police Services as well, and it's great to have them in the detachment. Are there any questions on the board? I know I've gone through this fairly quickly. I just wanted to touch base on those 2 noteworthies from the robbery and then the life-saving efforts of one of our officers, subject to any questions that the board or the chair may have.
Thank you. And maybe just one question from my point of view is if we could just maybe go over the traffic related. I know as counselors, one of our top frequent calls, emails a week is regarding speeding. And I know Councillor Perry is very good about saying slow down. all of us are, but we just want to, like, from your perspective, what are you seeing out there when it comes to those type of complaints?
I'm glad you asked the question. So one of the things we have later in the meeting, I'd like to have a conversation about the Black Cat system, and then actually Superintendent Kays would like to offer up a proposal from her experiences as a past detachment commander for the board to tackle that very same question. Speeding is challenging, both obviously from an enforcement perspective and education perspective. It's very individualized. We obviously spend a lot of time educating the public, whether it's through social media, through the chair, addressing complaints that come in through the municipality. We have resources like the Black Cat we'll speak about a little later. It's time of day and time of year specific. Obviously, the challenge that we have in the city of Kawartha Lakes, as do other detachments like Peterborough County, we're very seasonal. And we see that seasonal influx of the population come into the detachment area. And with that comes the whole host of the other challenges as well. Whether it comes from the Airbnb side, the challenges there, to speeding, to criminality, et cetera. We're certainly doing our best. Superintendent Kays has some input on that. I think is going to have some tremendous benefit to the municipality when it comes to dealing with those ongoing speeding complaints. And I'll leave that to the Black Cat section. Is that okay with you?
That sounds something that we're very glad to be hearing about today, so thank you.
100%.
Any other questions at this time regarding the detachment commander report?
I just can't remember offhand. Does this detachment have mobile crisis teams for mental health?
We do, yes. So,
follow-up question then. Do you have stats on that? Like how many times your the effectiveness of the teams, like how many times they've been deployed in response to any of the calls that have gone out?
I do actually. So in the detachment commander report, are you on the mental health act occurrences section? So our detachment has a mobile crisis response team. We have a dedicated officer that's trained in assisting individuals that are involved in mental health crisis. It's also a second lens. It's not only the mental health lens, but we also have the addiction lens as well. Quite often they pair up very, very close. So we have a dedicated officer in our detachment, which most detachments do across the province. In our detachment, we also have an embedded CMHA worker, and we're just in the process, the crisis nurse that has been with us for quite some time retired this past year, and Ross Memorial Hospital has identified a replacement. So we're just in the process of hiring and onboarding that crisis nurse as well. We have done, and I'm not going to speak just for City of Kawartha Lakes, those MCERT positions have had a fundamental positive impact not only on our detachment members, but on the community at large. You have to appreciate, from a policing perspective, we're police officers first. Unfortunately, we've been kind of called into action to deal with those that are involved in mental health crisis. And obviously with the challenges for support services within our communities over the years, from staffing to funding, et cetera, we've been pressed into service. In 2024 alone, I think the annual report touched base on we assisted 433 individuals in crisis over the calendar year. Now, ultimately, we want to see, and we are starting to see, a reduction in the number of individuals that are having mental health crisis, because it's not purely a reactive force. Our MCERT program will respond and assist members of our detachment in dealing with an individual in crisis when the calls for service comes in, but they play an even larger, more important role after the fact. So we'll attend the scene, we'll support the officer, whether that individual has to provide, go to the hospital under a Form 1 under the Mental Health Act, but it's the support services that both the CMHA worker and our crisis nurse provide after the fact. It's not a one and done deal. What we're doing is providing ongoing support through those two individuals in our office to get access to resources, to get access to, sometimes just to simply get access to medical care and doctors. Some have gone undiagnosed for years, and just we know the challenges within our municipalities getting family doctors. So it gives them access to those resources and gets them in touch with those individuals within our communities that they need to have access to. So ultimately, we are seeing a reduction in the repeat individuals within our communities, which is absolutely fantastic because they're now engaged with those community resources. Does that answer your question?
Can I add something? I think you have a transfer of care protocol.
We do, yes.
So I think another important point, and Rob, I'm sure you're familiar with this, so I'm not, is with the insert of MCERT, what you'll see is a diversion from going to the hospital all the time. So there'll be less of an impact on the medical portion, because oftentimes when it's an officer and we were responding, we would automatically take them to the hospital, but now we can do, because of the workers we have, do an assessment on site, and there might be an alleviation of having to take somebody to the hospital. And just like Rob had said, that, you know, they can get that help in their own homes. But I believe that you might be able to track that information, because I found that was always a great number to see, like the diversion, to see the impact that MCERT had on the community was huge. I know it's probably up like to the 90%.
Yeah, I think that would be my question, like diversion, like how many calls
Yep.
are actually attending? So out of like the 42 for the Mental Health Act, were they present for all 42, and what of those went to hospital? Yeah, went to hospital versus like could they get the services in their home?
I think it's a really good number for you to have,
And
to
I
be able
think-
to see the success of the program.
Yeah, and then what are those services? Because then you could then advocate for them in the community if you can show that they're of need.
I'm not sure we would be able to share what the services were provided, because that is, some of it that would be confidential information that we wouldn't acquire or have access to. It's a whole separate thing, but I'm sure generally we could, that Rob could provide what services are normally accessed by all the members, the people.
Just to add one more good news story to the MCRT team here locally. Last year in 2024, we started deploying them to follow up on accused persons for impaired driving, recognizing the conduit between substance abuse and mental health. We started deploying them to follow up with accused persons that were arrested to see what services they needed in the future to potentially prevent that from occurring again. So they found a lot of successes, and we've had quite a few good news stories where people just wanted to talk to somebody. And when we had that crisis nurse or that crisis worker out on the ground, it gave them that ability and the resources available to get help moving forward. So that's one of the good news stories we had towards the end of last year that's carried on obviously into 2025.
Through you, Chair. So that would be 24/7. How does that work if it's, then the nurse isn't on 24/7 or the crisis worker, and what happens in a crisis in the middle of the night, let's say?
So our frontline members are trained in responding to mental health crisis. Obviously, our subject matter expert, and you are correct that crisis nurses don't work 24/7 within the office. We rely on the transfer of care protocol with the hospital to ensure that those individuals are seen. So generally in the evening hours, we are going to be a referral into the hospital itself directly, but then it's the follow-up that's being conducted by our CMHA worker and the crisis nurse.
Great discussion. No other questions at this time? Perfect. So can I have a mover and a seconder for the detachment commander report? Councillor Perry, Councillor Warren, all those in favor? And that's received. Thank you. We'll move into 5.2, the 2024 Detachment Board Annual Report. Over to you again, Rob.
Thank you. Through the chair. So a little bit of history and a little bit of some information in regards to our Detachment Board annual reports. Under the old Police Services Act, we generate, in the past, it's every 3 years, we generate a detachment action plan. Organizationally, we create a strategic plan, organization-wide, and then underneath of that umbrella at the detachment level, certainly we develop a detachment action plan. Based on those detachment action plans in the past, we've had to provide a progress report. It's a progress report that we've had to develop every single year. It's an annual report that we've had to provide to the local police services boards. We treated the old CPAC, the Community Policing Advisory Committees, under the same lens and provided them the report as well. Now under the CSPA, we are creating the Detachment Board Annual Report. So the report that we sent out is for 2024. There'll be another report, annual report, come out at the end of 2025. There should be no surprises now that we're going to be meeting generally, I believe, on a quarterly basis. The contents of the stats and the data that's found in your annual report for the Detachment Board is this, using the same statistical information that we provide in the Detachment Commander Report. What this is just a roll-up and a summary of what's transpired over that calendar year. So happy to provide that. There'll be, I wasn't here during 2024, but this is a report. Staff Sergeant Gravel put the report together. He did a fantastic job. It's a high-level overview of some of the initiatives we were able to complete over that time period. And you'll be seeing this detachment annual report every year. And then when we provide the detachment annual report to the board, through the board under the CSPA, there's a requirement for them to present this to the council through the board. Are there any questions about the annual report?
Through you, Chair, I don't know if this, it was a question that I had sent previously. I didn't know what deprivation of freedom meant.
Happy to answer that. So deprivation of freedom falls under everyone's human rights. Under the criminal code is obviously, everyone's rights to privacy, the freedoms that come along with that. Under the criminal code, let me just pull that up. Under the criminal code, there's generally 5 areas that deprivation of freedom would fall under. Number 1 is kidnapping. Number 2 is a forcible confinement. That's generally what we'll see, a forcible confinement, whether that's an IPV-related occurrence, a husband or a wife or a spouse won't let the other leave when they want to do so. There's abduction offenses. We can see quite often at the detachment levels, we'll see an abduction offense when there's a separation between spouses, for example, and one spouse is preventing the other from seeing their children, or they want to leave the jurisdiction and head to BC. That's generally when we'll see those type of complaints. At the extremes, there's hostage taking, and then along with that is the human trafficking aspect. So those generally, now within each of those categories, there are additional criminal code charges, but it's the subtle nuances of, some of them have some age categories to that and which charges you lay, but those are generally the 5 for the deprivation. I have an idea, but it was nice to go through all of them.
Any other questions at this time? Yes.
If I could, through the chair, just for clarification, so I heard that annually the board's responsibility is to forward the annual report through to council. I presume council would then receive it, but it's really in that public venue. So I'm just sort of following up as that liaison. Would the 2024 annual report then be ready to package up and forward through to a future council agenda? Because I don't think that's gone through, is my recollection to date.
No, so through the chair, these reports were only made available to the chair about a week and a half ago, 2 weeks ago? About 2 weeks ago. So that should be coming through shortly, I would imagine.
Yes. Yeah, no, we just wrapped them up, and it was just within the last week and a half, so.
And through you, certainly not a criticism. I want to make sure that we're doing what we're obviously tasked to do on behalf of this board. So if the chair's just received it, then I presume we would coordinate through the chair and you to put it on a future council agenda more publicly or formally. Okay.
Thank you.
Great.
That's what we'll do moving forward. Now, Sergeant Gravel, did you want to add anything overview, being the writer of this document?
No, I'm fine unless there's any questions that I can answer in relation to it.
Thank you. Anything else, Councillor Warren?
I sent these ahead of time, so this one was the last one, and we didn't get the report until a while ago. This came up at our Joint Advisory Committee for Social Services and Housing. And I don't know if you got this email. I think I sent it. It's takeover by over apartments by drug dealers. And we actually talked to the Attorney General about this. We were talking more of the landlord-tenant board and how that could be, speeded up. So I'm just, and I know this is another issue with Minden. I know they've brought it up with their police services board. So I can just leave that with you. It's a problem with some drug dealers taking over apartments and that sort of thing. So I'll just leave that with you.
No, and I can certainly, and I will take that away, but I can certainly respond now because I do have that here in front of me. Obviously, we rely on information from the public, and we highly encourage the public anytime that there is concerns over that occurring to make us aware of it. Now, they have multiple avenues they can report that, our online reporting through the website. They can call in through our 1-888 number. And they can call into the Crime Stoppers if they wish to remain anonymous as well. The biggest challenging for us in policing is the lack of reporting to us. It may be various occurrences or various challenges within the community may be very well known to the community members at large. But if that information doesn't get back to us in one way, shape, or the other, it's very difficult for us to investigate. So we highly encourage any time that there is a concern that this might be occurring in one of our residential areas, whether it's a private residence or an apartment complex or that's privately owned, or an apartment complex like in Minden that the municipality has some input into. We highly encourage that the members of the public reach out to us and provide us that information.
And working with social services, because that's, it's kind of a multi-pronged issue.
It is, and it's challenging because, and I totally understand, and the concept of the, these individuals that are coming into into our community, dealing drugs. Sometimes there's the drug affiliations or the gang affiliations with that. There is a reluctance on the part of the members of the public to report back. But we do have mechanisms, whether through Crime Stoppers or through anonymous phone calls, to still relay the information while protecting the members of the public. That's the very, very first step. There are avenues, certainly avenues for us to go down, and from an investigative standpoint. Additionally in our office, apart from our crime unit, we also have a community street crime unit. And their mandate is generally, that falls under property-related crimes, firearms, and drugs. And our teams work very closely across Central Region, so it's not just our community street crime unit that will be engaged in these investigations. It's the interjurisdictional aspect of organized crime, gang violence, drugs, human trafficking. They don't know a boundary of the city of Kawartha Lakes or Peterborough County or Caledon or Peel Regional Police. So the first step is getting the information to us, and then we'll start our investigation from that standpoint.
Yeah, it's just working with social services and, so that's great. Thank you.
Okay.
Any other questions at this time? I don't see any, so can I have a first and seconder for the 2024 Detachment Board Annual Report? Councillor Warren, Member Johnson, all in favor? That passes, thank you. Moving on to 5.3, the 2026 to 2029 Detachment Action Plan Update. Over to you.
Thank you. So through the chair, I want to provide an update. It's an update, but a non-update. So as I had mentioned earlier, our detachment board meetings have been set this year in alignment with the action planning process. In May, basically for the entire month of May, we had a community engagement survey that went out through the Jump In website. My opinion is we had phenomenal response back through that survey, got a lot of input from our community members. I did let the chair know, and I passed this on to your, is it communication department? Our jump-in website and the survey was so well received that we had detachment commanders from across the province reaching out to me, asking how we did it, what the survey entailed, and we passed that information on to them as well. From Huntsville to Renfrew to Haldeman, extremely well received. So through the jump-in website, the first step of the development of the new action plan, and I'll back up a little bit, we're just ending our current action planning cycle that runs from 2023 to 2025. The new action planning cycle is now a 4-year plan, runs from 2026 to 2029. The first step of this is a community engagement piece with our members of the public, and that was through the jump-in website. It ran the entire month of May. At this stage of the game, by August 1st, I should have had a draft copy of the action plan based on our internal statistics as well as feedback from the community. Unfortunately, the organizational plan hasn't been finalized yet, the O.P.P. strategic plan, and we're currently waiting for that to be finalized in order for us to be able to start to develop our local action plan. Regardless of that, I have taken the past detachment action plan and applied that to the input that we see from the members of the community. We are positioned extremely well based on that feedback. Once that detachment action planning template is received, it shouldn't take me too long to be able to provide a draft copy to the detachment board. I'll do that through the chair as soon as that is released, and I'll liaise through her to let her know what those timelines look like. There generally shouldn't be, what I've been advised, there generally shouldn't be significant changes from the last action planning cycle. And our 3 pillars of our, crime, trafficways, waterways, and community engagement, those 3 pillars should be remaining in a similar format, and that's the premise that I've gone on. We've received phenomenal response back from the community and from some of the board members as well, and I'm ready to put pen to paper once I get the action planning template. So there'll be some slight timeline changes in regards to that. Is there any questions about the action planning cycle? It's an interesting juxtaposition of what's happening with our action planning cycle, because not only is our action planning cycle coming to an end, but also the community safety well-being plan for the municipality is coming to a close in 2025 as well. So I'm assuming that there will be a planning cycle through that to get a new community safety well-being plan up and running as well. I am very keen, and I've mentioned this to the chair in the past, I'm very keen on ensuring that our detachment action plan supports our community safety well-being plan from the lens that we're able to support that. We had a great meeting. It's a group that I was just introduced, the Community Foundation of Kawartha Lakes, through our Vital Services, is it Vital? Yeah, Vital Signs. Yeah. So we had a meeting with them. I'm looking forward to working with them in the future and making sure the timing is fantastic. And maybe I'm thinking it may be a positive thing that our action planning cycle is slightly delayed a little bit, because I only was introduced to them about 2 weeks ago. So we'll certainly be engaged in continuing dialogue with them to meet their needs as well, and reviewing, our community needs, et cetera. So that's the lens that I'm coming from our action plan, is how can we best support our community safety well-being plan through our detachment action plan, and obviously working with the detachment board and the Community Foundation of Kawartha Lakes as well.
Thank you for that update, and I think, we recognize those partners in our community and seeing what they're doing as well, and I think it's an opportunity, like you said, the glass is half full when we have a little bit of a delay, so you can actually build some of those partnerships when we're building out this action plan. Any other comments or questions?
We're really pleased to see, of course, the interaction and engagement with the Community Foundation of Kawartha Lakes. As an organization, the Community Foundation has come a long way, and I'm really optimistic and really pleased to see the progress as a community partner, both with the municipality now and with local O.P.P. So I just want to commend those efforts. Thank you.
And through the chair, I was actually quite pleased to meet with the committee members. It's not all the detachment areas and communities have that, the Vital Signs project. So it's nice to see the progressiveness in the area. I'm a fairly progressive individual myself, so I'm looking forward to continuing on with those building those relationships.
And maybe just as a side note, we may have to modify meeting dates based on your template that's being provided by the province, correct?
Potentially, yes. Yes, we'll work through the chair on if there are any updates. As I said, I'm poised to put pen to paper, so I'm hoping that once we receive the templates to complete the action plan, it won't take me too long to at least create this will be the first version, let's call it draft 1. So I'll generate draft 1 based on the feedback that'll come to the detachment board for their review and input. Based on that input, it also goes up through our regional command to the Commissioner's Command Team for their review as well. And then based on the input both from internally and externally through the detachment board, I will then create a second draft of the plan if there's any changes of that, which will then come back to the detachment board for review. Ultimately, the final timelines is by the end of the year, we're expected to have the new action plan up and running. So we do have a bit of time, but unfortunately, if there's modification of the dates, we'll work through the chair on those new dates.
Thank you. And also just a note, it's nice to be recognized by other detachments for how you've collected data and being able to move forward as well. So I think that's kudos to City of Kawartha Lakes and how they rolled that out as well. And it was very time sensitive and quick. So accolades to our communications team on that.
100%. Through the chair, they did a phenomenal job, and I can extend this beyond the detachments. Our Strategic Management Bureau, unbeknownst to me, this is how I found out, our Strategic Management Bureau became aware of the jump-in site, and that's how that information was getting out to some of the local detachment commanders across the province.
Was that shared on Facebook also? Yeah, because I know I shared it far and wide, so it wasn't just jump in, but the communications people put that out everywhere. So it was good. It went far and wide.
Through the chair, it did. We did our own messaging as well through our media channels as well. In actual fact, the detachment commander from Huntsville saw it through social media and had a look at the survey himself, and he reached out to me and we liaised and I shared the information with him.
Great. Any other questions or comments at this time? Okay, I'm looking for a mover and seconder for the 2026-2029 Detachment Action Plan update. Member Vale, Councillor Warren, all in favor? Perfect, that passes. 5.4, Introduction to the Black Cat System, Responding to Traffic Concerns. Over to you.
Thank you. Everybody has a copy of the Black Cat. Now this is for the Black Cat 2 Plus. We have the original Black Cat in our detachment. Very similar. I think a lot of it is more software changes within the program. So I'm going to say about 2018, 2019, Central Region purchased a number of Black Cat traffic monitoring systems. We have one here located within the City of Kawartha Lakes that we use to monitor traffic, in particular in relation to speeds. It's one of our tools that we use whether we receive information internally within our detachment on traffic complaints, or whether through the chair provides us some information on ongoing traffic concerns within our municipalities. It's actually a system that is sold here in the province of Ontario through Port Perry. And what it is a traffic monitoring system. You can see a picture of it. It still looks like the little black box on a hydro pole. It's a very nondescript Pelican-style case that will be mounted on one of the telephone poles in an area of interest. And what it does is generally what we've done in the past, and Superintendent Kays is going to introduce a topic that I'm actually quite keen on, and I think you will be too, Councillor. When we receive a complaint from either through the council or a member of the public, one of the things that we want to ensure is it a legitimate complaint? Is it a perception on the basis of a member of the public? And what we like to do is a data analysis of what the actual speeds are. So when we start to receive a complaint, for example, Balsam Lake Road, and I've got some, and I apologize, I have some example of reports that are literally hot off the press today. Otherwise, it would have been included to show you what the report looks like from the Black Cat. We will actually take that complaint and we will deploy the Black Cat on that roadway, and we will monitor it depending on the complaint from 1 week to 2 week time period. We want to ensure that we capture all times of the day, weekdays and weekends as well, to really and truly try to determine whether or not we actually have a speeding concern on that roadway. Do we want to deploy our valuable resources? Is it a legitimate complaint? Is it a non-legitimate complaint? Very many times, I was managing this when I was previously here as the operations manager. More often than not, and I'll show you these two reports, the speeding wasn't actually a concern. It actually turned out to be a perception on the member of the public. Interestingly enough, unfortunately, when we deploy the Black Cat, if we've determined that there was a speeding complaint, more often than not, most of the people that were speeding were those that were actually living on the roadway itself. And unfortunately, sometimes there have been on the odd occasion, it was the original complainant that may have been the recipient of a traffic ticket because they were stopped for speeding. So the Black Cat has been an extremely useful tool. We will use that for determining whether or not we want to set up directed patrols, focus patrols on a certain area, highway, based on that information. The units, and I don't know the price of the units, I think when they were purchased originally, they were approximately $5,000 per unit. One of the things that we're going to propose to the detachment board today, and certainly Superintendent Kays will expand upon this, they're not just a policing tool. They were actually designed for municipalities. Do you remember, and we still see them, we'll have the little traffic box on the side of the roadway and you see the two little strips go across the roadway, determine speed, number of traffic. Very limited data comes from that information. It's also a safety concern. You are now having one of your roads department deploy these strips. So those strips don't exist. The Black Cat's quite interesting. Not only will it determine speed, it will actually target, if you want to target strictly dump trucks, it will actually target dump trucks. If you want to target full-size commercial motor vehicles, if there's an area, if you've got a problem with a full-size commercial motor vehicle, you can set the system up to actually target just those commercial motor vehicles and leave motorcycles, personal vehicles out of that as well. So it's a very versatile program. I would like to see what, I spent 7 months in Orillia as the interim detachment commander. It was actually the municipality, they do things a little bit differently, and this is where I'll segue into the superintendent. The municipality actually owns the Black Cats. It's in the city of Orillia, and the Orillia detachment. The complaints come from the police, but it's a backwards process. The Public Works, the roads department, manage the Black Cat. So anytime those complaints come in through the municipality, come to the ongoing historic complaints, the municipality actually deploys the Black Cat and then supplies us with the information. In the city of Orillia, they have more than one device that they'll deploy throughout the municipality at one certain time as well. I am gonna, as long as this is accepted, we can hand out the two of the most recent deployments of the Black Cat, Balsam Lake Drive and Driftwood Shores. I believe these both came in through the municipality through the mayor's office. Mayor's office, yeah. And what I'll do is I'm going to keep a copy. Sorry?
Through you, I'd just like to know the process. I've had, complaints about speeding, so how does the process work? Like, I've sent it on to Mark, so I don't know how the process works.
Yeah, through the chair. So generally what we see historically is two different processes. Either the complaint will come into the police directly. Through the non-emergency line, we'll receive a complaint about speeding in a certain roadway. And then depending on how many complaints we've received, quite often we'll receive just a complaint we've never heard of the roadway ever before. And other times, like Balsam Lake Drive, Driftwood Shores, we'll receive multiple complaints. We'll also, when the complaint comes into the detachment, we'll talk with our detachment members. There are officers that are actually out on patrol. And if we deem it to be warranted, we'll deploy the Black Cat. The other process is through the municipality itself. So through the complaints department, the Councillor Richardson will email myself with some of those habitual speeding complaint locations and pass that information off to us. what you have in front of you, this is what the current, our version of the Black Cat provides to you. The reports are identical. So and Councillor Richardson, please feel free to share this back up through the mayor's office as well as a response. The front page you'll see is the color-coded one. This is one that we generally rely on. For both Driftwood Shores and Balsam Drive, we had the Black Cat up for a week. And what this shows in actually both locations, a little bit more so on Balsam Lake Drive, but you'll see on Driftwood Shores, the enforcement rating is low. And what you're going to see, so this is a 40-kilometer-hour zone. It's a cottage roadway. You'll see in the bottom left-hand corner, it says the 85th percentile. So 85, what that means is 85% of all vehicles recorded on that roadway during the time it was up, 85% fell at 38 kilometers per hour or less. Now, you'll also see that the little chart down below, you will see we do have some speeds, but really we didn't see any speeds beyond 60. And I believe this was a roadway that initially was a 50-kilometer-hour zone that was subsequently reduced down to a 40. So from an evaluative standpoint, there's a perception on the roadway through the complaint on Driftwood Shores that there's a speeding problem. The Black Cat in and of itself says there isn't. We are going to get the one-offs. We're going to get the one or two individuals that are going to come through at a higher rate of speed, but when we see the 85th percentile sitting at 38, from our perspective, there's not a speeding problem on that road. Lower threshold for us to create a directed patrol on that roadway. Now, turning over to Balsam Lake Drive, this is a 50-kilometer-hour zone. You'll see the enforcement rating is also quite low, with the 85th percentile sitting at 59. 85% of all speeds are recorded at the 59 kilometers an hour or less. What we do internally is it an effective, and this is something for the board and the municipality, is it an effective use of policing resources to go to a roadway when we do the Black Cat analysis? And trust me, there are roadways in the municipality, deployment of Black Cat, they will be in the red. And we'll develop a focused patrol and we'll set up like a 2-week blitz on that roadway. The question then becomes internally and for the board, is it an effective use of policing resources to go to a roadway, like cottage roadway, where there's a perception of speeding, but in reality, those speeds are very, very low. That's how the current system currently runs. But I am now going to defer to Superintendent Kays. She would like to introduce some of her experiences in detachment she managed.
Well, thank you. This is quite fortuitous, I guess. So I have experience in 2 detachments prior to getting into this position, not in this region, but in West Region. There are multiple, like you talked about the processes, and I'm sure as counselors you have some frustration as the multitude of traffic complaints that you receive from your constituents. That there's not a community across the province that doesn't have the same issues, and it's coming up with a very strategic way to deal with the complaints, because I think you get them and we get them, and how do we build an analysis to know what resources we should be deploying there, and knowing that policing and enforcement should be at the end. There's a whole bunch of things that should happen before you deploy your resources, your policing resources to a location. Education is one of them, right? That needs to come, I think, from the county as well. We need to look at what traffic calming measures could be taken in specific areas that could be, a focus in the community. And it's just building out a process to be able to collaborate all the information that comes in to one location, so that we're gathering the analytics to do those things. So in a couple of communities, you can, Brant County in West Region, I would say, has the Cadillac version, I told Rob today, of how they deal with their traffic complaints in their community. So they've actually built on their website a mechanism for community members to go in to learn about how to make a complaint, and it all comes in through the county. So one of the challenges on the policing end of it is when counselors and members of the public email, it is a really difficult, like, we have no analytics to track that. The staff sergeant will then walk down, you know, if there's an officer in the building, and tell them, hey, can you, you know, go out into this location, we have a complaint today. Whereas if we really start focusing in some media strategies, I would suggest, about using the 188 number and making complaints. For one, it goes out on our in-car computers, right? Every member that is working that day gets that complaint. They know where it's coming in. They have an obligation to deal with it. And it provides us analytics to say, we've had 14 complaints in 2 days. Maybe we need to do something about that location. So I really like to stress the using the 188 number, because emailing the detachment is really not a great, you're just not getting what you should be getting out of it. It's just not a great way to communicate to our members. So that's one thing. But to build a process with the county, and I will provide Inspector Flindell the PowerPoint I put together in Haldeman when I was there, that we built a Safe Streets community committee, thank you. And it's not run by the police. It is run by the county. The police is a partner in it to provide our piece to it, but it has a roads department on it, so that we can analyze all those pieces were done first, and then enforcement would be the last piece. But they meet quarterly, and they gather the information from the community, and then they present it at the committee and make a decision as to what the plan is. And if the plan's enforcement, so if you have these black cats out in the community, the county is responsible for the information. The analytics come into the committee, and you do an assessment based on where they are, and say, okay, well, this is above what in the high zone, and it needs police enforcement and police interaction. But maybe there's other things that can be done. And education is huge, right? And a collaboration between OPP Media and your media strategy, I found, was really advantageous to get out. And at the other, on the back end of it, like, you look at these, so I think the public needs to know this as well, right? That you did this and you analyzed it, and it's a perception piece and not an enforcement issue. So I think there's a lot of things that can be done, and subject to any questions, I will
Just if I don't mind, there's the OPP online complaint portal as well, and it does have driving complaints in that. Is that still a beneficial tool to a resident to use?
Yep, for sure. It's a great tool.
Often when I get them, I give them the 1-800 number, and then I provide the link right to them, saying,
perfect.
This is an opportunity, because often you hear that frequent traffic issue in that same location often, all the time. So, I'm giving them the tools to, be mindful and report yourself as well. Another thing is, if you're going to send out a PowerPoint presentation, I think it would be an advantage if we put it on the next agenda too, to have that discussion again.
Yeah, and there's different versions. Norfolk Detachment, which I was at as well, has just a little scale down. Like I say, Brant's is pretty complex, so it might not fit every community. And then Haldeman is a little bit different. Each county, I find, tweaks it a little bit different as to what works from them. But the template and the whole concept behind it is, if you go on their website, you can, I brought it up for Rob when we were sitting in the office, and even the language in it for education purposes is really advantageous, so.
No, and it is important messaging on behalf of the municipality, as well as providing that education and communication piece, because often folks just don't know where to turn. So if you're providing that link, or an opportunity to move in a different direction, then this board can make some decisions. Councillor Warren?
Through you, I was just wondering about the administration through the city. Would that be kind of quite a bit versus not? Like, you're talking about it would go through the city and not the OPP is your preference? And it's just,
Well, I don't think it's going to change what the OPP does. What it is going to do is come a focused location as to where all the information is being gathered and how we're responding to it. Because I think the police is only a small part of it. And it's an opportunity to collaborate with all the partners, because we can't, like, we won't have a website in order to facilitate all the complaints coming into our communities. It's not something that we would have an administrative function to be able to do that. When we get a call for service, it goes on to our niche RMS. It's not, it'd be very difficult to gather that information from that.
still wondering about the process. So I get a complaint as a counselor
Yep.
of speeding in
Yep.
an area, and so would I go to the 1-800 number or give them the 1-800 number?
You should be giving them the 1-800.
That would be the route, and then yeah. And just a question, maybe, I don't know if the CAO can take that away, but how many strips do we have for traffic counts, and how much would that cost now versus getting a bunch of black cats? Because it sounds like you could get more information from a black cat than you can for a traffic strip.
I don't know if I'd have, through the chair, I don't know if I'd have accurate sort of numbers for you now. I do know they have a fairly shorter shelf life too, so we're constantly updating our inventory as well. It would be a simple sort of integration, right, over time into the resource. I think we would just want to take back, I've made a number of notes to sort of talk internally about how we sort of review and manage traffic and some of the data that's in these reports. See if we can bring it together.
It'd be interesting to see the cost.
I'm sure this CEO can talk about, they probably get inundated with traffic complaints as well. And like, you guys are getting them, we're getting them, the county's getting them, and it's just not all coming together. It's just an opportunity to have it in one place, just to create some efficiencies.
Through the chair, while I'm sitting here as well, what we're talking about is traffic safety. Traffic safety is not just about speeding. Organizationally within the OPP, we focus on the big four. That's speeding, seatbelt use, distracted driving, impaired. A component of this potential committee, and we'll certainly provide the information from the superintendent. I'll pass that on through to the chair. We'll give the Brant County's website, where it's a Safe Communities Committee.
Brant Safe Streets, they call it.
Safe Streets. Another proposal with this committee, so I'm going to go back a few years when I was a frontline supervisor in Peterborough County. One of the things that I would do was leverage our mapping capabilities within our RMS report system. So we do have the capability for mapping our traffic collisions throughout the city of Kawartha Lakes. And where that evolved with was just initially I sat down with the Public Works Department. And as an example, anecdotally, we had a challenge in Ida, in Peterborough County, County Road 10. What happens with roadways over time is they become very polished. And I recall going to a traffic collision in August. It had just freshly rained. I got in my cruiser, there was a slight incline, and I literally slid down the roadway. And in this case, the polishing of the roadway, the reduction of the coefficient of friction, is one of the causal factors of the collision. Fresh rain, the oils come up to the surface, there's a polishing, reduction in the friction, and away they went into the ditch. This traffic safety component, I think, is a more larger umbrella over and above speeding. I was then, over time, was involved in the county's budgeting process. For Valley Road, for example, we're all familiar with the slurry that we can put down, the black slurry. That's what was done on this roadway. And we started systematically looking at the collisions through a mapping, and it's quite interesting where we can start to see some hot spotting on where some collisions are occurring within the municipality. One of those was an example, one of the things we looked at was deer collisions, bear collisions. And quite often you could pick them out a mile away, there'll be a hot spot, and normally there's a water course that runs underneath the roadway, and the deer were traveling back and forth at increased signage, et cetera. And I'm wondering, that's something that I would like to introduce within the municipality here as well, but I think under the premise of this Safe Streets Committee, that could also be accomplished as well as reviewing all of our motor vehicle collisions to see what, aside from enforcement and investigative excellence, that the community and the roads department can also play a key role in increasing that traffic safety.
Yeah, it's all of it, and I shouldn't just have limited to speeding, because it is encompassing all of it. For example, like if you have, you mentioned commercial motor vehicles or dump trucks, you have an area that they're going through consistently all the time, and there's a piece to it, like what can we do about it? Is it a change of speed? Is it's just all those issues that come up in our communities. It's an opportunity to collaborate and discuss. Yeah, it's not just for speeding.
Great, thanks for this. This sounds excellent, of course, and thanks for the data selection to look at and have before us to consider. I'm just curious. A couple of things I've found too is that I've heard from residents as well that with the city, for example, the speed monitor will be placed, but living up here, of course, a lot of it has to do with when and where, right? And I know that the age we live in, we see hard data in numbers. That's it. All right, and the room for human resident experience tends to shrink because we have numbers on paper, and so just an invitation to that we consider the fallibility sometimes, or the contextual nature of even having this kind of data in addition, not to discount it, but to provide that human perspective as well. Thanks.
Any other comments or questions at this time? I think it's a great update, and I also recognize it's an opportunity that we can have further discussion with, and I think we definitely should put it on the next agenda, because I think it's something that could evolve, working with partners across the city. So at this time, I'll just have a first and a second for the introduction of the Black Cast system responding to traffic concerns and the visual material received. Councillor Perry, Member Johnson, all in favor, and that moves. Thank you. 5.5 is myself. I've actually put this on the agenda. Traffic concerns with regards to Ski Hill Road in Bethany. Obviously, with the attraction of the temple being the culprit, so to speak, creating issues out there. We do have significant dump traffic with construction. It's a major arterial from Ward 6 to 8. It's a connecting link to Cottage Country. It's something that's a huge issue in my ward, and I just wanted to flag it's almost like a case study, because we're talking about that Black Cat, and what's the criteria for a community safety zone based on this type of data. So maybe just something to have discussion today around the table, so we can all understand moving forward if we have these type of cases.
Yeah, through the chair, I completely agree, and I did, in anticipation of yourself raising the concerns on Ski Hill Road, I did do a quick analysis of our traffic complaints, traffic hazards, and traffic control occurrences on Ski Hill Road. So within this quarter, actually for this year, so far we've only had 2 occurrences reported to us. I do have the map. I can provide a copy of this for everybody. This is actually the mapping system that I spoke about, where we can actually lay down those occurrences and where they're actually happening. And I'm happy to provide this, but this is the challenge. We know we have traffic issues on Ski Hill Road and then the arterial roads into Peterborough County and through us. The challenge is obviously the temple resides in Peterborough County's area, but all the access points is in through the city of Kawartha Lakes. We are actively patrolling the roadways when we can, but so far the challenge we've always got in the policing perspective is we need to have the occurrences reported to us. We need to know that if on a Thursday, if the information has come through us, through social media or through the chair on special events, we really need to rely on the public reporting those ongoing issues in that area. So far, we've had 2, which I don't think really explains the challenges that are there. So please don't take this information to say there is no traffic concerns in that area. The challenge for us is that they're not being reported to us independently. I know through the chair we've had lots of ongoing conversations and meeting with the concerns over the area, but we need that information to come to us.
And that's one of the reasons why I put it out there, because this is a perfect example of councillors or city staff getting these type of complaints and not having your local residents that are witnessing these issues actually reporting them. So that's like a communication piece, to the media saying, look at folks, if you're witnessing something that should be reported because it is a driving complaint, it is an enforcement issue, you need to either call the 1-800 or go on and use the OPP online and put in your complaint. So it's more of an opportunity to flag based on what we receive sometimes on the back end of the computers and what we need the public to do as well, so our local OPP can actually do their job as well. So Councillor Warren?
And that's when you need a black cat.
Well, I can also say on that, so the officers are out on the road, right? They're not sitting in the office, I hope, guys, right? And, the call for service comes in and you can have an officer 1 minute down the road and be able to respond to that call for service. Whereas if you're doing the email kind of route or the calls and coming in, that is a delay, right? So there might be a delay in the response and the person's already gone. So it's all of that. It just helps facilitate our response to be quicker and more efficient.
Yes, and I've spent numerous times on that road in the last 2 weeks during construction, and we have had both Peterborough County and CKL out there doing what they need to do, so it certainly is helping. Member Vail?
I was just going to say, I think it's just an education piece for the public, because I think around here, really what they reach out to councillors because they actually think that they're doing the police a favor by not wasting police resources. So they're going to phone their local councillor or they're going to phone the city to complain, thinking that it will transfer through the same. So I think it's just a disconnect between the two.
Thank you very much for that comment. It's appreciated. Is there any other comments or questions regarding this agenda item? No? Then I will move for a mover and a seconder for traffic concerns on Ski Hill Road, Bethany. Member Vail, Councillor Warren, all in favor? And we have that. We have number 6, which is other business. Is there any other business at this time by the committee? I don't seem to see any, so we're good. And move on to adjournment, first and second. Member Vail, Councillor Perry, all in favor? Thank you very much. This meeting ends at 3:47.